Welcome to IBM Watson X with NeuralSeek Learning Lab, hosted by the team at Cerebral Blue. Our goal is to provide you with the essential knowledge for provisioning NeuralSeek and integrating it seamlessly with both an IBM Watson Discovery instance and an IBM Watson X Assistant Virtual Agent. By leveraging the combined power of NeuralSeek and IBM's pioneering technology, prepare to enhance your technical expertise and optimize customer engagement strategies. We have a commitment to transparency and want to disclaim that participants are to come prepared with the necessary resources to fully engage in the practical exercises. We recommend having an active instance of NeuralSeek pay-per-answer subscription. Our team will provide the credentials for IBM Watson Discovery and Watson X Assistant prior to the lab. We encourage participants to take advantage of the free trials and subscriptions available, but it is the responsibility of each participant to understand and manage the associated costs related to the use of NeuralSeek and any other integrated services within their IBM cloud environment. Kindly ensure that all necessary resources are set up and accessible prior to beginning the learning lab for a seamless and enriching experience. If you would like to connect with our technical team on a 15-minute call to provide any of the listed resources, please schedule utilizing our Calendly scheduler or emailing general@cerebralblue.com.
Hello, I see that we are getting people to join on in, which is just what we want to have happening, so that's great. Let me get all of my people logged in and our tech set up. Tell us, type it. Let me change up the chat. I always like to test the chat real quick so that I make sure that I have everybody logged in successfully. So give me 1 second. All right, go ahead and let me just check the chat so I know that we get questions in. So come on in. That is exactly what we need. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I am just here in Utah today and we are having some soft rain. If somebody could go ahead and just type, really? I'm going to call you out, Bob, but if you just type in that chat for me so I know that it's working, that will help me. Oh, that's what I need. Got some soft rain over there in New Jersey as well. Hopefully everyone got the pre-email before this, but if you did not, we are following with the step-by-step directions on the Learning Lab. I'm going to put the NeuralSeek Learning Lab right into the chat for you so that you can go ahead and open it and see the directions that we will be going through for today. You can go ahead and click that URL, and that URL will take you directly to the step-by-step guide so that you can follow that as soon as we get started. I'm going to set up my own technology so I'm in kind of a good place to go from there. And we've got Bob from New Jersey. We got anyone else from East Coast, West Coast? Type on into the chat. We're going to give it just 5 minutes after today before we really start so that we know that we have everybody logged in successfully. So I don't know if you need that 3-minute break to go get yourself a hot coffee or whatnot there, but we'll just be starting 5 after today. I'm going to go ahead and promote Jordan over to a panelist. Jordan is our developer who will be doing the presentation today. So let's get her technology all set up. Very nice, Jordan. Nice to see you.
Good to see y'all.
Happy that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for waiting.
Nice. And I see you, RJ. RJ, I'm going to promote you over to a panelist as well. RJ is also joining from our team. He will be in the chat and in the Q&A answering any questions. This will help it so that Jordan can really just focus on the presentation and making sure that she's following through the content. All right, so Jordan, I'm really turning over to you. Jordan, give me a thumbs up if you think that we're ready to go. I know we talked about starting 5 minutes after, but
I am all ready. If you are ready for me, I'll go ahead and share my screen here.
Okay, perfect. And just a reminder to all of our attendees that post this, you will get the recording with the URLs, and we can go from there. Jordan, it's you.
Thank you very much. All right. So, hi everyone. I am Jordan. I'm part of the NeuralSeek team here. And today I will be walking us through the setup, configuration, and different features of NeuralSeek within an IBM environment, following the IBM Learning Lab guide, which is found at labs.neuralseek.com. And as a note, today you won't need to be bringing a Watson Discovery instance with you. We have already set up and provisioned one with a web scrape of our own documentation earlier today to save us some time. So we're going to start with module 1 of our learning lab. This will be NeuralSeek No Code Required. We will walk through the setup of NeuralSeek and how to effectively configure it with a Watson Discovery knowledge base and a watsonx Assistant virtual agent. In Module 2, we'll be looking at some more advanced configurations and features within NeuralSeek. So I'm going to load up my Learning Lab guide here to Module 1.1, launching NeuralSeek. And our first step is to log into our IBM Cloud account. So I am already logged into my cloud account here, and we need to create a NeuralSeek resource. So I'm going to go over here and click this resource button to create a resource. And then within the catalog, I'm just going to search for NeuralSeek. Great. So I have the NeuralSeek product here. And then I'm going to make sure I select the correct region and plan. If it's available to you, we recommend using the light plan option. If it is not an option for you, then we recommend the pay per answer plan. And as this loads up here, optionally, if you came prepared with your own LLM access information, then please feel free to choose the bring your own large language model plan here. But I'm going to make sure I'm in the correct location. I'm going to select our pay per answer plan. And then I'm going to select my own resource group here. This is a feature that you might not have to follow along with me here today. I'm going to agree to these following conditions and then just click that blue create button. This brings us here to our landing page of NeuralSeek, and we can access that just by clicking this launch. As a note, following the guide, it would have been preferable to change our name right here, but we're just going to move right along anyways. So I'm going to launch up NeuralSeek just by clicking that button, and it brings us right into our instance control or our user interface page. And here I'm going to walk us through the home journey that begins as soon as we launch our new NeuralSeek instance. So getting started on this basics page here, we're going to want to start with adding a company name. So this is important because we focus user questions based on our corporate data. And since our knowledge base that we'll be connecting to is hooked up with NeuralSeek documentation data, I'm going to add NeuralSeek as our company name just for best results for our lab today. Our next step is going to be selecting our language. I'm just going to leave it as English for our output language. As a note, it's best to match the language of your knowledge base and then the incoming queries, but we are able to translate between many languages. And then finally on this page, we need to select our use case for our NeuralSeek instance. We're just asking here, will this instance of NeuralSeek be used internally, or is it more external or customer facing? And we take that information and pre-tune some safety parameters for you. For the purpose of this lab, we're going to select internal because we don't need extra guardrails set up just for testing purposes. So to save these options, I'm going to click next. And that moves us onto our data screen. And this is where we're going to configure that knowledge base. So from our knowledge base type, we're going to select Watson Discovery. It's our first option here, and keep that knowledge base language as English. And these next credentials were provided in an email that was sent out before the lab, but I will also take a moment to paste them in here for your own viewing as well. If you give me one moment, I will pull up. And I can preview these on the screen as well for everyone else. But then I will take some time to input these into my own instance. So I need that API key, and then I need my unique project ID. Great. So next we just need to hit that test button. Perfect. So when it pulls up green right here, then we know that we are good to go and connected with our knowledge base. Our next step, we're just going to click next, saves our responses, and it brings us to an organized screen. If you are following along with the BYO LLM model, then at this point, your next step would actually be to configure a large language model. There is additional information guide on our labs that walks you through how to do this. But if you're following along here with us verbatim, then our next screen is actually organized. So continuing on, we're not going to be utilizing much of this category option for the lab. Just for your reference, however, you can do an automatic intent categorization by describing a category in natural language, and then we work to automatically organize user questions that come in into these specific categories that have been defined here simply by adding a new row and describing in natural language. We're not going to be utilizing that. We will be setting up our virtual agent framework, however. So from the drop-down menu, we'll keep this as Watson Assistant Actions. And then we'll also leave embedded links and returned responses disabled, as it's just not necessary for the purpose of our lab, but it is an option. So I'm going to click Next to save. And that brings us to our tuning screen where we will tune for our data. So our first question here is asking us which one looks more like our data. And I'm going to select that larger input block because it does best match the data that is in our source documentation. And depending on your own corporate data, you might select the smaller block. Say you have more focused data with 1 or 2 lines of relevant information like FAQs. This feature in the background sets that snippet size for us based on our data. So we're going to stick with this larger input block. And our next option, we're going to leave it as we want to give the LLM lots of information and give it that leeway to decide. And you are able to limit how many documents you feed to that LLM with the second option here. But I am satisfied with that first one, as well as this last step. All of our documents are current and relevant, so that's what I'm going to select. The second option describes data that might be a bit outdated or have some irrelevant information. And this is useful if you have blog posts in your corporate data. And selecting this will let NeuralSeek know to deprioritize some outdated sources and prioritize more relevant ones for our answer generation. So I'm going to save these answers and just click Next to move on to our final screen here, where NeuralSeek is ready to begin answering. So these features here take some time to process, so we're not going to delve too deep into them. There's an additional guides within the Learning Lab guide that walks through them at the end, but just for your reference, the auto-generate questions feature, this lets you quickly bootstrap your project. So it generates a list of questions that users are predicted to ask about our knowledge base. And I can click that just to show you. And then when you click that submit button, it drops them directly into our curate tab automatically. That does take some time, but we can see here are some questions about our knowledge base, which is NeuralSeek. So these are looking good and relevant. But instead of submitting, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel. In the same fashion, you can manually input questions line by line, submit those as well. Or You can even upload a list of question and answers. We provide a template for you to easily import that into NeuralSeek as well. And this is a really great option for some regression testing purposes as well. So just to summarize, we have set up and launched NeuralSeek and configured it with our knowledge base. And our next steps are going to be to set up our Watson X Assistant virtual agent. So that actually brings us to module 1.2 of our Learning Lab guide. I'm going to pull that up. And then we are going to navigate back to our IBM Cloud account. And we're going to go back into our resource list. And I'm going to search for, I'm actually going to create a resource here because we want to set up our virtual agent. And in the catalog, I'm going to search for that Watson Assistant. Perfect. Now that I have this resource pulled up, I want to make sure I am in the correct location. And then we're going to select this light plan. Down at the bottom, I do want to give it a unique name as I should have with the NeuralSeek resource. So right here, I'm just going to name it Learning Lab for better ease of navigation. And then as I did before earlier, I'm going to select my resource group, but you do not have to follow along with that option. I'm going to agree to our terms and services, and then I'm going to create my assistant. Awesome. I'm going to launch our assistant to go ahead and get started. And then we're just going to follow some of these prompts that our assistant walks us through. So our first is going to be naming. So I'm going to add a unique name here, and we're just going to name it NeuralSeek Learning Lab. Optionally, you can add a brief description, and we're going to keep that language as English, and then just click Next. On this screen for personalizing our assistant, for the purpose of the lab, these options don't really hold too much significance to us. So I'm just going to go with, I'm not sure, student options. We're going to click Other. We're just going to name our role as a student. And then I'm not sure at this time. You, of course, can customize these to your liking, but for the purpose of the lab, they don't hold too much significance. Same with here, we can always customize our colors, add a unique assistant name. It doesn't affect the outcome too much here. So just getting started, we're going to click Next and successfully preview our assistant. And then I'm going to click this big blue Create button at the top. And congratulations, we have now configured our first assistant. It is ready now to be connected to NeuralSeek for use. And the way we do this is by integrating it with a custom extension. And this actually brings us to module 1.3 of our Learning Lab guide. So I'm going to pull that up here. And we're going to follow these next steps. So staying within this account in our newly created assistant, first we need to head over to our Integrate tab. So on the sidebar at the very bottom, I'm going to click Integrations. Our goal here is to add NeuralSeek as a custom extension. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit until I find the extensions section. And then I'm going to click this blue Build a Custom Extension. This first page gives us an intro about getting started with custom extensions. I'm going to skip that after a quick review. And then we can give our extension a unique name. So here I'm just going to name it NeuralSeek Learning Lab for ease of navigation. Optionally, you can add an extension description. Instead, I'm just going to click Next at the top. And then it prompts us for an open API file. This is actually found back within our NeuralSeek user interface. So that's where I'm going to navigate back to. And then once I'm back here in NeuralSeek, I'm going to click the Integrate tab at the very top. And on the sidebar, we offer a lot of different options here. And the first one that pops up is our Watson custom extension. This is where at the very bottom, I'm going to download that open API file we'll need. And before I leave this page, I do want to make sure I copy this API key. It's going to be essential in one of our next steps, and it just saves me some time from flipping back and forth. So now that I have that file downloaded, I'm going to nav back to our assistant page, and then I'm going to upload that NeuralSeek Open API file that I just downloaded. And then I'm going to click Next at the top. Scrolling down a bit, we can see and review some of the operations that are available for us. If you would like, I'm just going to click Finish. And great. So I just want to recap for a moment. NeuralSeek is configured, connected with Watson Discovery, and we have a custom extension added and integrated with Watson X Assistant. However, though, we do need to authenticate our new extension. So moving on to module 1.4 of our Learning Lab guide is authenticating our virtual agent. And staying within this integrate page for a moment, right here, this NeuralSeek Learning Lab is that new extension we just built. So we need to click Add at the very bottom, and then we're going to click Add again. Great, so this is an intro page on getting started with custom extensions. I'm just going to click Next past it. And then here is where we're going to select that authentication type. We want it to be that API key auth. And then here is where we're going to enter that API key that we had just copied from NeuralSeek. If you need a refresher, it is over in NeuralSeek under the Integrations tab, this API key here. All right, so I have that input and I'm just going to click Next. And we have some more operations and functions that are available. And I'm just going to click Finish right at the top. Great. So now our custom extension that is integrated with our Watson X Assistant is now authenticated, and it's ready to start answering questions as soon as we set up our fallback search. And this brings us to module 1.5 of our Learning Lab guide, which is adding NeuralSeek Starter Kit actions. So back within, we are in our IBM Watson Assistant page. I'm going to click that sidebar menu and navigate to the actions. And I want to make sure I'm under Created by You. And then we're going to create our first action so we can go ahead and set up fallback. So you do have the option to build it from scratch. However, we do offer a much easier to use template. So I'm going to select that option and then go with the green Do More with Starter Kits. I'm going to click that block. And then right here, I'm going to find our NeuralSeek Starter Kit. So I want to select that kit and add as a template. And this makes it a lot easier than building from scratch. So now we can see our new action was created, and it is called NeuralSeek Search. Over here on the status bar, you'll notice that it's a red circle and it says one missing extension. So at this stage, the circle is red because our integrations are added, but they're not yet connected to our underlying extension. So we just need to click that name to open up our action and make a few edits here. So the first edit is we're going to navigate to step 3, which is highlighted in red and says how this step has no content. And our first edit is we're going to delete this variable here. So I'm going to click the X to delete. And the reason we're deleting this query context variable is because sometimes the query context provided by Watson X Assistant is rather big and exceeds the size of the request body of the API. So we're just going to delete that. And then we're going to scroll down a little bit. And our next edit will be configuring the extension. So down here at the very bottom under And Then, we're going to click Edit Extension. And we can see we're missing our extension here. So from the menu, I'm going to select that extension we just created and named as NeuralSeek Learning Lab. Perfect. Under operation, we offer tons of settings, different API calls, different custom integrations that we can explore. But for the purpose of the lab, we want to choose Seek and Answer from NeuralSeek. So I'm going to select that option. And then finally on this page under parameters, we need to set our question to a session variable. So from the dropdown, I'm going to choose session variables, and then I'm going to grab that query text session variable as our parameter. Once that looks good, I'm going to click apply. Great. And then don't forget at the corner right here at the very top, we're going to click save. And then so we have successfully saved this action, and then I'm going to close out of this screen. So now that we're back here, we can see our action NeuralSeek search, and we want to make sure our status bar is green with a check mark, showing that there are no errors and that our integrations are now properly connected to the extension and they're now ready to use. So if you have any questions about this, RJ will be available to answer but we do want to make sure that our status is green. And this actually, our final step is now setting up that fallback search. So this brings us to module 1.6 of our Learning Lab guide. I'm going to pull that up here, and we're going to learn to set up NeuralSeek call action to use generative AI responses to all queries, even those that aren't listed in Watson X Assistant. So staying on this actions page, I want to navigate to Set by Assistant. And then I want to choose this No Action Matches option. So I'm just going to click that. And we're going to make a few edits within here as well. So the first edit we're going to make is we don't need this second step here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that trash can icon to delete step 2. And then I do want to make some edits in step 1. So I'm going to click the step to navigate inside of it. And then our first step is I want to delete this condition. So I'm going to click X to delete the condition. And then before we continue, we just want to preview that default response as reference. So at the bottom corner, I'm going to click this preview button. And as following the lab guide, here we can ask a random question in the chat window. I'm going to ask, why is the sky blue? Great, so now we have this I don't understand your question response. We are hitting fallback search here, which is what we want to see, but we do want to finish setting this up. So to do that, I want to delete this assistant says response. And then down here in the and then section, I don't want to end the action. I want to change this. I click it, and then I want to change it to go to a sub action instead. And the sub action that we're going to select is our NeuralSeek search, which was that fallback action that we just set up. And then I do want to select the check mark under end this action after the other action is completed. So that is looking good. And I'm going to click apply. And then don't forget to click this save icon up here in the top to save our changes. And then now we have NeuralSeek search as our fallback action instead. So back in our preview chat, I'm going to re-ask the same question and look for that natural language response that we get from NeuralSeek. So why is the sky blue? Great. So instead, we are seeing, instead of hitting that no action matches, we're actually hitting that go to NeuralSeek search action. And that extension is being called, and we're getting that information back. So those 3 dots that we saw meant that it was reaching out to NeuralSeek's API. That fallback was triggered, and NeuralSeek was generating an answer for us. So if you would like, you can poke around with this inspect button and explore that API call. But just to summarize here, a NeuralSeek call action that allows for generative AI responses to all queries is now set up, tested, ready to use. And this completes our setup for NeuralSeek with a virtual agent and a knowledge base inside an IBM environment. And this actually moves us on to Module 2 of our Learning Lab guide. So I'm going to load up Module 2 here for my reference. And so now we've completed setup, and we're going to look at a deeper dive of NeuralSeek itself. And the purpose is we're going to highlight some key features of NeuralSeek that are just instrumental in training virtual agents. And the reason here we have it named Scale is because it follows our unique user interface: Seek, Curate, Analytics, Logs, and Explore. So loading up Module 2.1, which is we're going to start with our Seek tab. I'm going to navigate back into NeuralSeek, and at the top, I'm going to click Seek, and we can start going over some unique functions. I'm going to pause for a sip of water for a moment, though. With the weather warming up, my allergies are really kicking in. But I'm grateful for the warm weather. Right. So here on the Seek page, this is where we can ask user questions and just see a completely another level of detail than what the chatbot would respond to us with. We offer, sorry, let me backtrack. We're going to ask some basic questions here. We're going to follow our Learning Lab guide. So the first question that I want to start with is something that I know that is not going to be in our knowledge base. Like I said, that is connected to our NeuralSeek documentation. So I'm going to ask, what is the formula for pi? So I know that this information is not in our knowledge base, and effectively this answer would be a hallucination. So we can see here that we get all of this detailed response with this question, much more than what we would get just from asking the chatbot itself. This page gives us a great overview of where knowledge is being pulled within our, or where answers are being pulled from within our knowledge base. So I'm going to look at that semantic match score here, and it is very low. It is at 5%. Because there's no data within our knowledge base about what the formula for pi is. So effectively, you know, we can assume that that's a reasonable semantic match score. And the reason it's not entirely zero is because maybe there was a few keywords here that were being pulled that were in our knowledge base, but you know, effectively this answer here is a hallucination. So instead, I want to ask something that I know will have a higher confidence because it is within our knowledge base. So here I'm going to ask, what is NeuralSeek's Seek feature? And I'm going to seek this question. Great. And so I would expect this answer to have a reasonably high semantic match score and a reasonably high confidence score as well. Looking at the semantic match, it's at 25. It might seem a little bit low, but actually we consider anything between a 10 to 20 or above range a reasonable semantic match score. It is very hard to get a 100% semantic match just due to variance in language generation. But here we have a pretty respectable semantic match score, and we have some good knowledge-based coverage and confidence. Scrolling down, we can see exactly where in our documentation this answer is being pulled from. I have the answer provenance feature turned on, which if I turn it off here, it removes that highlighting, but it is showing us each part of this answer that has been generated for us. Those colors match up to where in the documentation connected to NeuralSeek it's being pulled from. And we can even expand these down, see the paragraph, we'll see the exact link. And if we prefer this answer and we find it more relevant, we can use our sliding scales here to adjust adjust some features as well. Pardon me. Great. So all of this information, the highlighting, the semantic analysis, the scoring, and being able to see contextually where our answers are coming from, allow you to trust the answers that are being generated a lot more. So for a more nuanced question, we might ask, I'm going to follow the lab guide here and ask, why should I use NeuralSeek with a knowledge base instead of just ChatGPT? And I'm going to seek this answer as well. And we can review some of the highlighting that's offered. And we can see it's a lot more colorful. There's a lot of different places that this answer is being pulled from within our knowledge base. And we offer some detailed descriptions down below of all of those as well. So we are able to handle some nuanced questions. There are many features here that we can use to personalize. We can adjust with some feedback thumbs as well. So I really like this answer. I want to note that feedback in there as well. So there is a bunch of information that our Seek tab here offers for you to best know where your answers are being generated from. So you can choose to ask a few more questions. We have some example questions listed in our lab guide, but I am going to move on to module 2.2, which is our Curate tab. I'm going to load that up as our lab guide. And then I will navigate over to Curate right next to Seek. So as users ask questions to NeuralSeek, their questions and the generated answers that go along with it appear here in our Curate section. So questions get automatically grouped into intents. And it's important to note that different question and answer pairs might be existing in different proposed tents with different specificity. So it's up to you to choose which specificity level is best for your use case. But there are quite a few features that are going along on this page. And for example, it gives a great high-level overview of what is going on with our coverage and our confidence scores. So we can see here that the formula for pi question that we asked, and we knew that that answer was not in our knowledge base, has a pretty low coverage score. We can see that here with our graph, and therefore we would have a low confidence score. We were not confident in the answer that we gave because it had no information from our knowledge base to pull to. So when I click this little drop-down menu, I can expand this intent about the formula for pi. You can see here these auto-generated questions that come up with different ways that that same what is the formula for pi question might be asked by users. And then we have our generated answer here as well. So knowing this, being able to see the overview of the coverage and confidence scores, it lets us know what questions are being asked to our knowledge base and where in our documentation we might be able to improve some of these answers as well. These answers are able to be edited. If you simply click on it, we're able to edit the answer here. And by doing so, and I save that, pardon me, I'm gonna grab a sip of water. Okay, it shows us here right now that this is an edited answer. And that brings me to caching, which is another feature that we can talk about with relevancy to this Curate screen, but I will head over to the Configure tab for just a moment, just to show you some advanced options that we offer with caching. So I expanded those advanced options, and here under intent matching and cache configuration, we offer quite a few more configurable parameters for you here. So we can select how strict we want to be about matching intents. And this is especially helpful if you have edited answers and we want users to be able to hit those more often. So if we set this edited answer sliding cache scale down to 1, it will only ever hit that one edited answer. The normal answer cache sliding scale, we set it as a default of 5. But based on your use case, you can set it as low as 1. In a virtual agent scenario, if I ask the same question 3 times in a row as a human, I might not answer with the exact same phrasing every time, or maybe I need the question rephrased in order to better answer it. So this is saying that if the same query is asked multiple times, we'll generate up to 5 variations of that answer before we stop generation. So setting it down to 1 will say that when a user asks a question, we'll cache it and we will always give you that 1 answer. So I'm not going to edit any of these settings, but if you do, you just click that Save button right here at the bottom. And then once you go over into Seek, re-ask that question. I apologize. Once you go over to Seek, re-ask that question, it will show you how it is a cached answer, and that is the answer that it will serve. And if you want to spend some time and play around with it and re-ask the same question multiple times, you can see the variation in answers before we stop that answer generation for you there. But going back to the Curate tab, we looked at editing some answers here. And then finally, another feature that I would like to discuss on this page is exporting and importing. So back on the Home tab, if you remember how we went over auto-generate questions, this manually runs through those queries as if they were asked in the Seek tab one by one. And then it populates them into our Curate tab with the answers to quickly bootstrap that virtual agent. I wanted to show you. So all of these questions, it runs through Seek as if they're asked one by one, drops them into the Curate tab, and then I would be able to select any of these intents, saying like, this is a good intent, I like these answers, this is a good intent as well. And then we're able to export that over to our Watson Assistant actions, and then automatically have those intents built out for us. It still allows for fallback search. If we don't match an intent, it'll hit that fallback, which hits NeuralSeek for some language generation. But this significantly helps you get started building out that virtual agent. And in a similar fashion, you're able to import some intents straight from your virtual agent, bring them over to the Curate tab, and be able to update, override, delete anything. A great way to configure and work on your project. So as I select these intents, a few more options here at the top besides export and import are available, such as editing, flagging, merging, deleting. But this download CSV button is one that we also find very useful, especially for regression testing purposes. So if you want to pass off any intents to some subject matter experts for proper review and editing, you can click that button, and then you're easily able to upload them with this load Q&A button right back into Curate for some reviewed and edited answers and intents. So that is the majority of the Curate tab. And our next 2 tabs are a little more bare bones, but they're still good to review. So moving on to module 2.3 of our Learning Lab guide, I'm going to explain a little bit of the analytics and then the logs tab. So this analytics tab, from here, users are able to work backwards to kind of see and understand where coverage and confidence scores are coming from. It gives a good high-level overview of how well we're answering questions and how much our documentation is supporting our answers. So the language-generated summary here at the top gives us a good understanding of where our source documentation might need some updating and what questions are being frequently asked by users. It gives a summary and then some recommended areas of improvement. This look back sliding scale feature lets you look back up to a period of 30 days. But since we've just provisioned this today and asked these questions today, we're not able to slide back in time. But just know that that is a good feature. And then here we are looking at, I'm going to minimize that. We're looking at our coverage and our confidence scores, similar to the Curate tab that showed us. But I'm just able to highlight over, see where our documentation might need some updating, where some questions are being asked. And then once these intents get built out, you will have pages and pages of intents, and sometimes scrolling can be a bit tedious trying to find the exact intent that we're looking for that we know might need some updating. So with the Analytics tab, you're able to just quickly and easily click on that, and it brings you to the appropriate intent. Perfect. So moving on to our Logs tab is a very similar fashion. This is module 2.4 of our Learning Lab guide. But here, this feature allows users to efficiently filter their log history by session, date, ID, question, answer. It gives a good, streamlined, informative experience on what's going on. So it is showing a little scarce today because we're performing all of this today, but really it gives you a good look at what's going on within your virtual agent. So just to know anytime there is language generation, it will be noted here in the Logs tab. And we're able to click this little search icon and search for keywords as well for better ease of navigation. So I know I wanted to look up the formula for pi, but maybe this long list of logs feature, I'm unable to find that exact session where that question was asked. So I can just type in a keyword like formula, and it'll pop up right here with that date, session, and the question and answer that were generated for that. What is the formula for pi question that we had asked? So also a very good feature used for understanding what is going on within your virtual agent. And the final feature that I want to cover here today is a very exciting feature, and it's our Explore feature. So I'm going to pull up module 2.5 of my lab guide. And great, and I'm going to pull up our Explore feature here. So this is very exciting. It has a lot of capabilities ranging from very simple to very complex. And if you're familiar with large language model prompting, this is essentially a big playground just for that. So the first screen that pops up here, if you have navigated away from it by accident, let's say I click the X, that's okay. We can just click that load button at the bottom and it pulls it right back up. So if you're not really sure where to begin with Explore, there's so many features that are available. Starting with this example templates screen is a really good place to begin. If you want to see a high-level overview of what the capabilities are within Explore and what features are offered. The user templates button, when you create your own templates, you can save them and they're stored here in user templates and they can be easily pulled up for future use. But the first template we're going to look at today, I clicked example templates. We offer a variety of example templates going through multiple features within NeuralSeek's Explore. But I want to start with writing a marketing email. So I'm going to click this prospecting email template. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can better see. Perfect. So here within Explore, we offer two different types of editors. And the first one that generates is our visual editor. And anytime you generate a prompt or a box or a template, it'll also show in the NeuralSeek template language editor as well. Any edits that I make within one editor will also appear in the other. It's just for ease of navigation, which one you prefer, but we're going to stick with that visual editor. So immediately I'll see these blocks appear. I'm going to walk through them one by one just so we get a good idea. This text box here is when I click on it, it expands up over to the side. So I can see more parameters. In natural language, I just prompted the large language model with write a marketing email based on this list. And then our next block is actually a chained block. So another great capability of Explore is its chaining abilities. So we start this chain out with a get data. Under here, get data, we got a website text block. So this will scrape a website and cleanse and return the text on it. And Then we pipe that website text into our next block, which is a summarize feature. And we've given this a parameter of 1,500 characters in length. So it takes everything that comes back from this website, summarizes it down, and then we have a send to LLM block that we have chained here at the end. So here we have prompting the LLM to create a bulleted list of features based on this document. So as a note, this LLM block on the right, it only sees the output of what's going on in this horizontal chain here. So however, our ultimate goal is to write a marketing email. So that's why our last step of this template is to another send to LLM prompt block. So we are prompting the LLM to send all of this previous content, chain included, back to the large language model and generate an answer for us. So I'm going to click evaluate down at the bottom, and it prompts me with setting an explore parameter, which is that URL for the website. So the website that I'm going to grab is from our documentation, just about the explore feature. And as a note, you can set this website URL parameter within the block itself, but once you click evaluate, explore does prompt you for it if it notices it's missing. And then I'm going to click evaluate. So a useful tip, if you want to continue to play around with this, we recommend grabbing URLs from Wikipedia. So you can grab an interesting or silly URL or something that's relevant to your field of work. But Wikipedia is a great text-based platform to utilize when playing around with this website text explore feature here. So I'm going to scroll down and see that output that Explore generated for us. We created a marketing email based on a website that was about our Explore feature documentation, summarized it down, created that list, and then this is the output that was generated for us. So this is a great template, a great place to start, but I really want to see what's going on in these blocks. So I'm going to click this debug up here. It's an Explore inspector, and this is where I can walk through each step of what just happened. So like I said before, our step 1 was that text where we had prompted it to write that email. And our step 2 was that website that we added. So here we can see all of that website text that it had scraped for us. And we wanted that summarized. So this is that summary that it output. And while we might not see it in our generated output, this is what was occurring and what was sent to the LLM. So this was that bulleted list of features that we prompted the large language model to write about the summary from, oh, that was a mistake, I apologize. I'm gonna let this run one more time and then I'm gonna re-review that step. But basically what we could have seen there, so while we might not see that bulleted list that was sent to the LLM, we can see that in our step right here. And then all of that information list included was sent to the large language model to output that email here for us. So one last thing I want to note is down here, we can see how many characters were generated, and we can see our semantic match score as well as some more semantic details. So I just want to let you know that that semantic match score is fairly low, and that's okay because we're not pulling anything from our knowledge base. It's just a web scrape, but it does give us some good details, a little analysis, some coverage scores, and some unattributed key terms and terms. So that detail screen does offer some more information if you are curious. And say I make a bunch of edits to this and I want to save it as my own template, I can definitely utilize that feature down here. I can save, I can load to reload a new template. I'm able to output this as a Microsoft Word document or just use this as a nice little template for a marketing email. So our next step would be to look at another NeuralSeek template about writing a memo to the knowledge base or querying our knowledge base, but I'm going to save us some time here today. I know we did start a little bit late. So I just want to let you know that this feature, you don't always have to pull from a website, and you don't always have to upload a document. We do have our knowledge base connected, so I can always click this box here and create my own template or just play around. Say I don't want to pull from a website, instead I want to pull from our KB search. I'm able to utilize that feature just by clicking on it. And then maybe instead of pulling up NeuralSeek Explore documentation from the website, I'll just run a KB query with the Explore keyword, and it should provide a similar output. It'll parse through our knowledge base. Anywhere it finds that keyword Explore, it will summarize for us, send to that LLM, and then write that marketing email as well. So I could play around with Explore for a long time and show you all the different features that are available. But it's most important to note different ways you're able to get that data, modify that data, and then hit that LLM for some answer generation. That does conclude our time for the Learning Lab here today. So I really appreciate you sticking out with me, and I hope you found our session informative and useful. I do want to note to remember to review the closing steps that are available at the end of our Learning Lab guide, so you're able to deprovision some of those instances created here today as to not incur some further billing. Otherwise, I will turn it over to Joy and stop sharing my screen here. All right, I see there are no questions in the chat.
Good job, Jordan. This was a good presentation.
Oh, thank you.
I apologize. Is everyone waiting for me?
Oh, all good. I was just figuring out how to stop sharing my screen. So.
That's right. Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and end the call today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joy.